I left my camera in the car. I'll be back. All right, so I got my camera. Now there's no memory card in it. I know I have one in the car. I'll be back. Unbelievable. Oh, shit. But you also have the Hey everyone, how's everybody doing? I'm trying to get ready here. Sorry, give me 1 second. Have a fix this one thing. Get the chat window up. I think we're good. Uh-oh. Excuse me. Wow, hey everybody. Hi David, Patrick, Rick, how are you? Steve, Craig, good job. Orna, Robin, my goodness, how are you doing? Good to see everybody here. Wow, it's been a crazy week, I tell you. So much going on. You know, with I mean, it's almost the exact opposite, right? Everything is shut down, so there's really nothing going on. I'm so busy all the time. I don't know why. Just all these little things, you know? Oh, Plato, how are you? Amir, good. Wow. Martin, wow, it's a good crowd. Grishka, how are you? John, oh, that reminds me, I have some good news. There was another follower or viewer. His name is also John, and you know, he's much older, and I was a little worried about him. I hadn't heard from him in almost a month, or just over a month. And I sent him a couple emails. Finally, he responded yesterday and told me he's fine. So I'm so relieved. But he's a he's a electrical engineer by trade, and he's gonna send me a book that he published and autograph it and send it out to me. So I can't wait for that. That's gonna be neat. So I'll share that with you. I don't even know what it's about. I forget. Um, but yeah, he I don't know if you guys ever worked on cars, but in the old days he used to make those timing lights that look like laser guns for cars, and that's for Sears, and you know, everybody, I guess they rebrand them, but it was kind of cool. Uh yeah, good news, right, Randy? When you know, it's good to check on your neighbors if you know them and they're, you know, they're kind of older. It wouldn't hurt to check in on them once in a while, you know, regardless of everything that's going on out here. It's always a nice neighborly thing to do. Timing strobe light. Thank you, Tony. That's what it's called. Mm. But check my notes here. Yeah. Okay. So basically, I think People have submitted some more pictures in, so we'll review those. And I didn't specify a theme, but they're mostly landscape pictures for the most part. But I'm going to put a link up, or I have the link up for submitting pictures, and the theme is going to be mostly people pictures, right? Whether it's street photography or portraits or events. I want you guys to start submitting people pictures because this Sunday I'm going to have Jimmy Chang and Joe Ellis as guests on my show. And, I'm going to ask them to critique your pictures for you because they're professional, real professionals, both Olympus visionaries. But aside from that, they're both professional photographers, um, in wedding, primarily wedding photography. At least that's what I see in their portfolios. So that should be fun. You guys can get your pictures critiqued by some real photographers. So if you do wedding photography and you're new to wedding photography, or whether you're not, but you can submit those as well. So it'll be, I think that'll be a really good opportunity to get some live feedback. Uh, and then there's another question that comes up time to time about the 75 to 300 lens from Olympus. It's in my bag over there. But anyway, question is, they want me to test it for the speed, right? On like the EM1 Mark II and EM1 Mark III, if it can keep up with the autofocusing system. And I could do a test like that, but I don't have another lens that's similar to it to compare it against. And the problem is, if you can't compare things, it's hard to say if the lens is performing well or not, because if my hit rate is say 75%, someone else might get a hit rate of 90% because they're a much more skilled photographer at tracking, moving objects, which is basically what he wanted me to test. And so if I had two lenses that are similar, I could say, okay, with this lens my hit rate is 50%, with this lens my hit rate is 75%. Then I can say one lens is performing better than the other and able to keep up. But without some kind of reference point, it's any kind of testing I do is kind of meaningless. And that's why I always, if you ever see me do a review on a lens, I always do it side by side with another lens. I rarely talk about the one lens by itself. I think I got one video like that. Well, two. Okay, I'm lying. I got a couple of videos where I just have the lens by itself. But for most of the time, I do compare them, like kit lens versus pro lens. Pro lens versus prime lenses, things like that. Then you have some perspective. So yeah, it's another Rob that asked me about that, and um, all I can say is I know the lens focuses a lot better on the EM1 Mark II. It's like a new lens, it just focuses so fast. But that's relative to, it's in a bubble though, right? I don't have, so all I can say from that is, yeah, the EM1 Mark II is much better with that lens than say the EM10 Mark II. But that's all I can really say. I can't say that the lens is performing well on the EM1 Mark II unless I have some comparison. So that's one thing. And then the other thing is, well, I'll talk about that later. But yeah, so that was the one thing. And then I'm going to be reviewing the pictures shortly. I did skim them a little bit beforehand to try to save some time in my thought process because I really should only need to say 3-4 sentences about each image, right? And maybe crop a little bit. So I'm going to try and curtail that a little bit so people don't get bored to tears with my editing and everything. But there were some great pictures that came in, so we'll get to those shortly. And yeah, Robin, I know I I'm just bad luck, It seems like whenever I go into someone's streams, the audio or something technical goes wrong, right? But I think I nailed down the problem I was having with the audio, going out is there was about 5 or 6 different hotkeys programmed to mute my audio on my keyboard for some reason. I must have been playing around with it one day. so that every time I switched to another screen and started typing, it would just go mute. But my last live stream and the one before that, I think have been solid, sound. So that's good. Uh, let's see what we have here. So Corner says I'm building up a quarantine collage on Flickr. If you want to see them, I could send a link. Yeah, why don't you share the link here on the chat room so everybody can take a look and give you some feedback. That would be awesome though. Otherwise, you can just email it to me if you don't want to make it kind of public. Um, let's see, 7 from Germany. Like how you are with Olympus cameras. I'm not sure what you mean. If you could reword that a little bit. Uh, from the one way I read your question is I'm not affiliated with Olympus formally in any way. I just love their cameras. I have contacts at Olympus, to ask questions and things like that. But nothing formal. And if you're asking what's my proficiency with Olympus, it's pretty solid. I know how to get through the menus anyway. Uh, so in that respect, I'm very good with Olympus cameras. Now, as a photographer, that's a different matter, right? Um, that's doesn't matter what camera you use. If you're an average photographer, then you're an average photographer regardless of camera. So now I would say I'm an average, kind of enthusiast level. Still have a long way to go, and that's why I really love doing these photo critiques because trust me, I learn as much as any of you from doing those critiques. Um, so it benefits me as well to do the critiques as much as anyone else to see my thought process. And like I said, it's always nice to hear other people's thoughts, on your photos. It doesn't mean anything, take it all with a grain of salt. It's not that critical, but uh, because the problem with critiquing the photos, at least the ones that came in, nobody put any comments in about what they were trying to achieve with the photo. So I have to look at the photo from the perspective of how well was it taken in terms of like exposure and composition, and I kind of have to take a very dry look at it, and then I edit it in a way that I would find it appealing, or something that I would, you know, do to it. But it may be totally opposite of what the photographer originally intended. If they were going for that moody look, uh, and I look at it and I'm like, it's kind of blurry, or so, you know what I mean? I'm missing the point, right? Because the intent was to create that mood. Then my feedback would be very different on the photo. I wouldn't say it was too blurry. I would say maybe, I'm not sure what the subject is in this picture because all of it's too blurry. So I need a subject and a context. So when I review the pictures, if you submit them in the future, be sure to add some comments so I can get a feel for what your intent was with with the photo. Maybe your intent was purely technical. You were just testing your uh, long exposure technique, right? And I can say you did an excellent job with the exposure technique, and you don't care about the composition and everything else. You're testing out that one specific type thing. So anyhow, we'll look at those when we get, in a minute. Um, David Crook's asking what editing software do I use? Just Olympus Workspace for 99% of my personal photos. Uh, because I'm in this zone where I'm trying to get everything exactly right in camera the best I can. Uh, and then I only have to do minor tweaks, and Olympus Workspace does a great job at that. For my professional work, I use Lightroom and Photoshop, paid work, because I have to do a lot of blending of images and um, distortion corrections and things, because I'm an architectural photographer, right, by trade. So there's not much, no way around it. Workspace cannot handle, all of those things. Uh, let's see. Yeah, Robin uses Capture One, and Capture One is a great software. I'm gonna have a guest on that is a Capture One like administrator or affiliate, and what else? Or moderator, I think is the correct word of some of the Capture One forums. But he's very proficient in Capture One, and we're gonna talk about some of the advantages of using a professional software over a say workspace. But workspace is really amazing, that they give that to you for free because it has everything really you need to edit a photo. It's not going to recover shadows and highlights like a real paid software would, but it'll definitely get you halfway there, if not more, if it's a really messed up photo. And again, that's why I use it, because if the photo is exposed properly and taken in a way that I want it to begin with, then Workspace is easily corrects any, like tilting the horizon, things like that. Yeah, Ikerna, sorry, the text is so small on here, I can't read your name exactly, but the the comment is that with Olympus Capture, he said with the M1 Mark II, the connection cable, after a while, there's a message communication problem, and then the camera's unusable. I noticed that it's not related to that. It's not a USB cable. But my HDMI cable stopped working, uh, and I mean it worked on my EM1 Mark II, but then when I put it on my EM1 Mark III, it didn't work. So I had to switch cable, but it used to work fine. So maybe it's just your cable, you know. Um, I mean, I'm sure you got a lot of different cables to try, but try different cable, or get a new one that's a high quality one maybe. And it could be the connection in the computer, right? The USB cable. Because after a while, the tension inside the USB port gets a little bit loose. And I know that if I jiggle my USB cable on my laptop right now, I'll lose the connection to uh, this microphone, for example, and the camera, because the camera's plugged in through the USB as well. Yeah, I use DaVinci Resolve, John, for my videos. Thank you, Craig. I'm the menu master. Yeah, I can get around that menu like a surgeon, right? Uh, you know, David's saying something about not sure where we can add a space for posting URLs. You can just go to my forum. I have a category in there for posting your social media links. So if you have a website, a photography club, a Flickr page, Instagram, whatever, you can post a link in that part of the forum, and I'll see it there. So if you don't want to post it here, then you can post it on my forum. Or if there's some reason you can't post it here, I don't know if you can post links in the chat. I thought you could. Yeah, Lauren and I are on the same page. I really like Photoscape X. I've been using that a little bit lately for my collages, right? I don't use it to edit photos too much, but I do use it for the collage feature. So if you look at my channel page, I updated my header and I used Photoscape X. So if you go to my channel page and you look at the header image, that I did with Photoscape X. And it's really handy for, just quick and easy type stuff. But it has a lot of nice or interesting filters and things. It's almost like a graphic workstation. Uh, is really cool. Olympus XA, John has an wow. Those are selling for like 150 to 200 bucks, those XA cameras. It's amazing. They have 5 or 6 of them at the local camera store. They're selling, I think, for 180 a piece. But I have an Olympus Epic Stylus, brand new in the box. This is like a $300 camera. I got it for $6 at a flea market. But this is I don't know. I'm scared to take it out because it's kind of a collectible for some reason. Um, yeah, and I have an OM2S, an SP actually, the program one. Hi Rob, is there a way to delete images from both cards at the same time in the Mark II? Oh, you like my vest? Is there a way? I'm sorry, I don't know if I read the question. Is there a way to delete images from both cards at the same time? I've never tried that. I don't think there is, to be honest. Maybe Robin knows. Uh, on the M1 Mark II, if you can delete both at the same time. I know you can choose which card to delete from. You can definitely choose one, but I don't know if you can do them both at the same time. That might be a safety feature. Because you have 2 card slots normally, for redundancy, and you don't want to accidentally erase both when you intended to have that redundancy built in. Uh, Corna's getting some buffer sync issues. Everybody is, huh? Uh, okay, yeah, it says. Actually, I do have a message here. Now that's about the audio, but my videos should be okay. I can check my stats here. No, I'm uploading just fine here. Pretty solid signal. Okay, anyway. Yeah, it could be on YouTube's end, it's probably overloaded with everybody streaming. I'm starting to get a little fatigued from streaming, right? Watching streams and doing streams. Because everybody's streaming, you know? Rob, chat doesn't allow posting of links. Okay, thanks, John. All right, yeah, I didn't realize that. So just go to my forum and post it in that category then. Or, just email me. My email is very easy. Just rob@robtrek.com. Yeah, the Plato, the Panasonic 25mm f1.7 is really a good lens. It's better on Panasonic, but it's really a fine lens. When they make when you make a quality lens, it doesn't matter what camera you put it on. Um, it's I mean that's just the way it is. Nice piece, Rob. Is that the one with the fixed lens? Yes. Yeah, this has the I assume you're talking about my Stylus Epic. Uh I forget what it is, but it's like it's an f2.8, I believe. I just don't have just in case people want to know. This is a 35mm f2.8 fixed lens. For some reason this is collectible. I don't know why. Must be because of the lens, because the zoom versions go for about $100. But this one is like $300 in the condition that I have it in, new in box with everything sealed up. I don't think it's ever seen a roll of film. there a way to lock the focus point? Not not that I know of. The only thing I do is I program one of the buttons for the home position. So if I see it move, rather than having to deal with the D-pad, I just click the function button to snap it back to the center or to whatever point that I use. So that's the way I do it. Okay, yeah, Lauren. Lauren's updated his collect. Lauren has a nice portfolio on SmugMug. Uh, but the other thing you can do is just leave a comment down below with a link. I know you can put links in the comments. If you want to do it that way. All right, let me get to a few more questions, then we'll get to the images here, because I know a lot of you came in. I don't know, is anybody here that submitted images? Uh, Peter taking up the bandwidth. That's funny. I do not have an Olympus golf cap, Lauren, but someone did send me a awesome Pen F cap. It has that gothic letter F on the front. That was really nice. Dang, I can't remember the name of the person that sent it to me, but they were a doctor. I remember that. That was really nice. How can I tell what settings have been chosen in front buttons? They were set 3 months ago and I've forgotten what the buttons are for. Oh, you just go into the menu. I have an EM10 with any life in it here. So, you go into the menu, right, to the button menu, and you click OK on that, and then you'll see button functions, right? Sorry the screen is so dark. I was recording some stuff. And then when you go into the button functions, it'll tell you FN1 is programmed to AEL, FN2 is programmed to multifunction, FN3 is programmed to live guide. That's all. So you just go into the menu and it'll tell you. Rob, I gave my stylus Epic to our high school photo club. I wonder if they ever... Yeah, I don't know, John. It would be funny to give a film camera to a kid and see if like a teenager, and see if they know what to do with it. Is it? Okay, Sam, I'll look for it. I've already downloaded everything, but I'll look for your image, Sam. If you submitted it before I started, I probably got it. The 25 is good, but best to avoid f4 due to focus shift. Oh, I've heard that. Yeah. The 25mm Panasonic f1.7, people say at f4 it has some kind of off focus a little bit. Catalin, how are you? Is it possible to find a solution to be able to submit ORF files? It might be very interesting to see originals and also edit them live. I I need to think of a way to do that. I mean, I know I can let people submit any kind of file, and that's my concern, is that I don't want to open myself up to any kind of viruses, right? Because if they could submit an executable file, rename it as an ORF, and I open it up, but if they submit a JPEG, at least, I don't know. I'll have to give that some thought. I'm just a little leery of that. Hey, Lars, how are you? And thank you very much for the coffee. Lars bought me a couple coffees. When you buy the EM1 Mark III here, you're offered a free Capture One. Only thing is Capture One doesn't support, yeah, isn't that funny? Hopefully they'll come out with a firmware up soon. Okay, this is a good time to break and look at the images. So, oh, nature, just JPEGs for now. JPEG and TIFF. TIFF is also good because that's what Workspace can see. But okay, let's look at some pictures. I'm going to. I need to copy this chat window. And let's. We're almost there. Oh, I don't even have Workspace open yet. Okay. There, that should do. And if I click that, voila, there we go. I have to have the chat window up to the running on the side so I can see some comments. And you know, a lot of you I know you watch on TV on your televisions and stuff, and sometimes the chat window doesn't show even when you replay. So I think it's better to have it right in there, right? All right, so let's look at the first one here. These are in no particular order. But we have a little seascape here, and I mean it's exposed perfectly. Everything is there. My challenge here, I mean, this blue sky looks good. So you have some really good blue in there. And then the water and the rocks are a little bit bland. There's no color or pop to it. And composition wise, there's nothing going on there either. It's just a snapshot basically. I mean, I think the exposure and everything is really good, and it's a beautiful scene, but it needs a little pop if I were doing this. So if this were my image, I would definitely convert this to black and white because the colors down here just don't add any value to the picture in my opinion. Now, if these colors were like a very bright, like had a lot more red in it or some yellows to complement the blue, that would be nice. But as they are, they're a little bit too mid-tony. So that's the first thing I'm going to do is just swap this to monotone. And that right there, I think just doubled the value of the image in my opinion, at least for me. And then I'm going to add a red filter, and that should bring the blue skies in a little better without affecting anything else really. And then compositionally, I would probably, you know, I'm Mr. Crop, right? I would definitely crop this in. I think a square format would work for this. Because this box over here doesn't really add anything to the scene. It doesn't add to the story at all. I would crop in right about here. Keep some of the blue sky. And then definitely, let's see. Add a little contrast. Bring up the midtones again. The shadows just a tiny bit. and crank up the highlights because I want the waves to be really white. And just a tiny bit of the haze to work on the clouds a little bit and the water. The haze works really well like on water and skies. It's kind of like a polarizer filter, you know, a virtual one. Maybe a tad of clarity. And then let me just punch in and out to kind of update the scene. Oh, I did a little bit too much there. Let me back this off. Ah, why is the sky messed up? Much contrast maybe. Here? Yeah, it's the contrast that did it. But that's basically what I would do with this image. So if we compare that to the original, that's kind of the direction I would go. I would work on it a little more so I didn't get this blotchiness in the sky. But I think the tones and everything here in the water are working really well. And we're almost there in the sky. I could spend about 10 minutes on it and fix that, but I think we get the idea. Okay. Let's yeah, Lauren, the when I edit JPEGs in Workspace, it doesn't have any denoising options, unfortunately. So yeah, this definitely something would be better in Lightroom. And if this were the raw file, it would definitely, I would have kept a lot of that information in the skies a little better. But okay, that's where I'm there. I think that looks pretty good though as a shot versus what the original was. Yeah, the horizon is just slightly off, right, Rick? You could do that too. All right, let's move on to the next one. This has got to be Cuba. From all the vintage cars that are there, and I love this scene, this row of cars, and then the people walking around, and you exposed this really well because I can still see some blue up here in the skies. But yeah, the sore thumb in the picture is this wall and this sign here. So what I would do is definitely crop all of this out and fix that. And then the scene itself, because we have all these colorful cars, I'd want to bring out this color a little bit more. So this is what I'm going to do. Let me just crop, and we'll keep the original 4:3 aspect ratio. If I were there, I would have stood down a little bit lower and not get the sign in because I really like this long street. I'd like to keep that as much as I can. But when I crop it this way, I don't like this side over here. This side is just, you know, not friendly at all, the image. I'm going to crop that out. Bring this up. And what I want to do is get this yellow line coming into the corner. Bear with me. I'm not going to crop it that much. I just want to see what that yellow line looks like right there. I think happens here. Yeah, 16:9 crop is a little better. Because like I said, I want to keep that long street. That might be a little bit too much, but something like this first. Then I'm going to increase the saturation. Just a tad. I really want these colors to pop, the reds and the blues. And I need a little bit more in the midtones because this is a little bit too dark over here. Maybe one more notch. Yeah. Because it's a bright day, you know. I want it to look bright. And then I think this looks good as is, but because we have all these vintage cars, I always like to use vintage 3. I love this filter. Oh, crap, my battery. Hold on. Got to change my battery before the stream. Good thing we didn't need it for this part, right? Just when I thought I got everything perfect, right? I forget to change the battery before I start. All right. What happened? There. I accidentally hit the focus ring. Now I'm like overexposed too. There. Okay. Sorry about that. But yeah, I like this vintage 3 filter. I think it looks really good on this. And then what I'll do is I'll just brush out this this sign. Make it a little bigger tool. Oops. Come on, right here. Brush this out. Okay. And maybe brush this out too. All right, that looks good. Rick was waiting for me to do the vintage. That's like my favorite filter right now. Lauren thinks the original looked good too. For the balance. I can see that. Maybe a tad more contrast. Just a tad. But there's the before and after. I feel like I said, this sign over here in this wall is just overbearing. But I like this yellow line coming from the corner and leading up through the image. So, whoops. But yeah, there we go. I think that's an awesome picture right there. Really awesome. Not much editing, you know, just add a little saturation and crop out the sign. But I love that. I love all these old cars and the people. All right, let's move on to the next one. Okay, beautiful misty scene here with the tree. So it's definitely a really good mood or vibe that you get from this picture. My challenge with this picture is the reflection, actually. I think the thing is, you're trying to go for like some kind of symmetry, right, with the tree reflection, but then you have it kind of off center. And that's where this picture kind of goes wrong for me. Because there's really nothing I would change about it on the exposure. But if this were my image, if I were there, I would have centered the tree in the frame and have symmetry left, right, top, bottom, all the way around, rather than kind of this. This looks just a little bit odd to me. So I would crop this 2 different ways if this were mine. I would probably do this and I would do that basically. Maybe a little more contrast, a tiny bit, not that much. Just a tiny bit more contrast, bring up the blacks a tiny bit, shadows. And that's what I would do with this picture. That would be one way. The other way, yeah, straighten the horizon a tiny bit. But I think the tree is straight. Let me look. See, the tree is, I guess it's a tiny bit off. We had to straighten it. We had to straighten it. Maybe a tiny bit like that. But it's pretty spot on. But that's kind of where I would go. I mean, maybe it doesn't need the contrast. You can go the contrast minus a little bit. Go negative a little bit and then make it a little darker. Just to kind of keep that mood, right? And speaking of symmetry, you need to make sure there's equal space top and bottom, left and right. And that's kind of what I would do with this image. I feel like this is a little stronger image than this one because this being off center just bugs me. But it's really beautiful scene. The only other thing you could do is crop it the other way. Oh, slightly out of alignment. You know, maybe something like this. Then this tree being off center, rule of thirds kind of thing. This would be okay because now the rest of this is more interesting. You can kind of see some palm trees or other trees back in here, and the tones are just right. I mean, I adjusted the tones a little bit. I'd probably go a little bit more contrast, but you know, for the most part, this is the direction I would go. Rick's thinking maybe some grain. I don't have a grain filter. I have an art filter, but that messes with the tones too. That's the problem. If I do that, that's actually not bad. I like that too. Yeah, some contrast and sharpness could do that. That's true. But I think just compositionally, this composition here on the right is a little more appropriate for this scene. Just my opinion. I don't know if cranking sharpness up would add too much grain. No, that looks messy on here if I do sharpness. So those are the 2 ways I would go, this way and the other way. Okay, let's move on to the next one. This next one here. No, Lauren, no HDR. This is a very basic editor. And you know, and I use it specifically for that. I don't want to get carried away with brushing and gradients and all the other things you can do in Lightroom. You can really do a lot of things. I would do so many different things with this image if it were in Lightroom. But as it is, you know, I think it's fine. Now this image here is beautiful, and when I first looked at it, I didn't appreciate the scale of the image until I looked way down here. There's a little tiny person here. It's just a little ant on the landscape. I couldn't believe it. So yeah, I use anyway. And this foreground here with this, I don't know, water here doesn't add anything to the picture for me either. Uh but it's beautiful picture. Horizon looks a little crooked, so I'd fix that first. Get this way. Oh, that's sharpness. What the heck? Here we go. I would do that right about there. Yeah, there's a person on the big rock. So this is this image has got a lot of good detail. It must be a very, very sharp lens. There's no exit data, so I have no idea what camera and lens was used. All right, and then I would yeah, I'm gonna crop this let's see what this looks like, a 16 by 9. Oh, no, let's go really wide. What I'm going to do is I'm going to have this corner, this line of fence, old fence, sort of be the bottom corner. And then if we look at it now, I think that's a really good picture right there. I mean, this is gorgeous. Did really good job with the tones on the black and white. I would maybe bring the tones out in the rocks just a little bit more. I don't know if I can do that with maybe a mid-tone. Bring up the shadows a tiny bit. But now see, your eye is kind of, I think, drawn to this corner the way this leads into it, but and that'll let you see this little person here. And then your eye's drawn all the way up to these rocks, and the rocks just need a little more detail. So like I said, I would probably brush in a little bit with some clarity and sharpness just on the rocks. And yeah, if you punch in, there's a person standing up here. Amazing. And there's a little seagull down here. I mean, the scale of this rock in this scene is amazing. I mean, I just I didn't get that sense right away until I saw this person here and then started looking around. But I think a nice wide shot would look good framed on your wall. That's a beautiful picture. Oh, is this yours, Sam? Because you say it's a 20 megapixel image. I mean, the dimensions say 16, 4 times 5. Oh, I'm sorry. No, that is 20 megapixels, I guess. But that's the way I would crop it. Not much work needs to be. But yeah, beautiful, beautiful. Okay, let's go to the next one. All right, this one, I don't know what I'm looking at. Some kind of flower. But obviously you did a partial color. And I like all of the tones, and I like the water droplets. The partial color kind of did okay. We have to back off so it's not obvious where the partial color is kind of a little bit off, like the tips and stuff. But I think for this one, the only thing I would do is try and crush some of these highlights down a little bit. Just a little bit there. And really, really get the contrast up. So I feel like if you have this really strong orange color, so you need to make the black and whites really strong and very punchy so that the whole image is punchy, right? It's kind of, I think the way it was before, it was a little bit too soft in the rest of the image relative to that strong orange color. So I think giving it this kind of punch, really all it needs. So if we compare these two, that's all I would do to this image personally. I don't think I mean I would crop in a little bit because I like the water droplets on it. I think if you print this large so that you can see the water droplets very clearly, that'll make for an even more interesting image overall if you print large. You don't have to crop or anything, just print large. Because this is not this image would not look good on Instagram on somebody's phone, I don't think. I think it needs to be in a big format. Okay, let's go to the next one here. All right. This is a tough shot. But really, where the blue's coming from. You're using a blue light or you just mess with the white balance. I mean, these shots are always kind of neat, right? To look at because it's interesting to see. I guess the water hits it, the water drops in then bounces off itself. Just weird. But it's really fascinating. You can see a little bit of the reflection here. But this is the kind of shot you don't really do anything with. It is what it is. I mean, it's perfectly done and it's very sharp. Like, I think, yeah, you pretty much nailed the focus everywhere. And this was shot with a Nikon D5300, so with a 450 millimeter. Oh, I see. So you zoomed out to 300 millimeters, 1/200th of a second. Maybe that's why this part is a little bit softer than, say, right here, because this is tack sharp here. I think maybe a higher shutter speed, and this would be in focus. And then what's your aperture? f/16. So maybe a little higher shutter speed if you can. And that'll get this a little sharper, but there's not much else to do here. And using a D5300, this is really hard to do because it doesn't have like Pro Capture or you know, like the EM1 Mark II. The EM1 Mark II, this would be an easy shot. But this is really hard on a SLR, right? DSLR. All right. Oh, the flash sync speed. Really? You think they used a flash on this? What's the shutter speed? 1/200th. Ah. Okay. Well, if that's the case, the flash, yeah, it's a flash shot. What am I thinking? Yeah, of course it is. then really you don't have to worry about shutter speed as much because the flash becomes the shutter. So if you shot this in a very dark room and used only the flash to light it, that would freeze the action. So I think it just missed focus a little bit. Okay, but yeah, thanks. Thanks, Paul. That didn't even occur to me. Um, okay, we have beautiful night scene. Now this image here, beautiful as it is, I have two issues with it. Well, let's talk about the good things. You really capture the light and the city in here really well. But the two issues I have with it are this balcony or staircase, and then this scene up here. Apparently, I think this is a river or something, right? Because then the lights don't pick up again until way back here. All of this is just dead space, and you're not capturing whatever beautiful river that is during the day. So what I'd recommend, if you can, I would take this shot again, but I would probably come during blue hour, right? Before it gets pitch black, so that I could capture the sky and or some reflections in the water so that you can see there's a river there. But right now, I can only guess this is a river and these are boats in the river, kind of floating around, is my guess. But I don't know, because even if I punch in, okay, yeah, if I punch in, I can see these are boats, most likely. But that's what I mean. It's unknown. So I would do a wide crop on this or a square crop just right on this area. Now this balcony, if there was a couple of people standing there looking out, that would be awesome. Then that would make this shot about the couple standing here looking at this beautiful scene. But since there's nobody there, it's just an empty balcony that's kind of overpowering the scene for me. So I would just crop this like this. Try. I would crop this something like this. And then just capture this and then make the blacks really black. Bring up the lights a little bit. Come on, move. A little bit of the mid-tone, a little bit less black. And bring the saturation up just that. That's all I can. I mean, this is the meat of the image. Is all of the action going down here. I had to crop it a different way. I mean, maybe this way so that this balcony is just a piece of the image. Oh, I still don't like this. I don't like all this dead space up there. I maybe crop it like this a little bit if I had to go wider. But if you could go back, I would go during blue hour where there's a little more light so that the city lights will still all be on by that time, but then you'll be able to capture maybe some beautiful sky and then some reflections in the water. And that would really complete this image. Because as it is, all of this is incomplete in my opinion. There's no sky, there's no water, just some twinkles of light. But yeah, it's a really beautiful city. I like this part right in here. Okay, that's about all I can do there. Let's see. Eric, This is Eric Bodens. He just joined my forum. Thanks, Eric. See. Now this shot here, you see how it's framed. Yeah, this needs to be vertical. Kind of weird to me to go left and right. I would make this vertical. And really cool though. I like this reflection. Must be on some kind of black plexiglass. I would just make it a little more contrasty. A little bit more. I could do that. So that looks good. I think the way it is. The highlights back in. And oh, okay, yeah, clear glass on a black foam board. Oh, yeah, okay, that makes sense. Yeah, but I like this. I mean, the screws and everything are arranged in a way that are just, you know, kind of pleasing to the eye somehow. I don't know why, but there's some kind of balance there that works. This is the kind of picture you would definitely like hang up on your wall, right? The only thing you could do in post-processing is uh, you could add a little bit of tone to it. There's two ways. One is this cross process 2. That'll kind of give it sort of a little bit of what do you call it? Split toning. And I think that's kind of interesting. Kind of give a little split toning, right? It doesn't turn everything red, but only some things red, like the midtones. And then because we increase the contrast, the highlights are blown out, so they stay nice and white. So this I think, you know, I mean, if we're gonna get all creative and artsy fartsy about it, this is just one option, right? You may or may not like it, but that's one option, right? Like you see how this screw now is still silver, and then the screw behind it, the large one here, is a nice kind of purplish color. And then sometimes another good one to do split toning is instant film. But that doesn't seem to be working on this one, so I think just to kind of give it a little pop, I would do this. I mean, the original image is almost perfect. It just needs a little more contrast. But the arrangement of the screws and everything, man, that's I don't know how you got that to make that work, but when I look at it, it's just very interesting. And they're just screws. I don't know why, but great picture, Eric. Yeah, really good. All right. Okay. This is gorgeous. I mean, it just makes you want to be there, right? Like at a beach during the sunset. And compositionally and timing and everything is really good here. The only challenge is that it's a little bit flat. There's not enough separation between the waves and the skies and everything else. So I don't, I'm thinking either black and white. Let me just do a quick black and white on it. Let me see how that. Okay, that could work. If I was in Lightroom, I would brush in some light back into these waves. Nobody likes black and white? Wow, okay. We'll go back to color. I am partial to monochrome, but that's fine. I'll stay with color. But we still need to work with the tones here a little bit. Let me give it a little more contrast. I'm just trying to bring out some of the speculars here in the waves. That's working, something like that. I think that helps. About the highlights. Not enough information in the highlights. Something like that. And then the white balance, a little more yellow and a little less magenta. Ah, what a disaster. Okay. That's what I would do with it. I would warm it up just a tiny bit because there was a little bit too much red for me. And then deal with the midtones and shadow area. They're just a little bit, man, I don't want to get into a tone curve, but that's what I would do. Yeah, if you could bracket this shot, exposure bracketing, yeah, that would definitely capture a little more dynamic range. And but I don't think exposure bracketing would help a lot, to be honest, because there's just the shadows are just a little bit too harsh. Even in the original image, there's not enough light in the front, so you'd have to brush it in with Lightroom or something. You know, just use a brush and brighten up this front, and really make these highlights pop. But I think basically all the image needed was a little contrast and a little bit more yellow in the image. The image on the left was just a little bit too red. But you see this wave here, this is perfect. I would definitely brush in some really nice speculars all along the top of this wave and over here. Maybe a tiny bit of dehaze. Where is that? Dehaze helps. Clarity sometimes. Yeah, clarity's bringing out the highlights. All right, so there's my edit, so to speak. And then I would add a little denoising to it. But yeah, it's just really timing wise and composition, everything is perfect. I love everything about it. It's just the exposure itself. It's a tough exposure to do. And yeah, exposure bracketing, the other challenge is because it's moving, you wouldn't be able to blend those bracketed shots back together, right? So exposure bracketing is not even an option on a shot like this. You basically have to pick your battles, either expose for the waves or expose for the sky. In this case, I would expose for the waves a little more. So dial in maybe a +1 or 2 on the exposure comp. And that'll make these waves really nice and white right in here. Pop art too. All right, I'll try one filter, pop art. Let's see. Oh my God. All right, that's totally, and then vintage 3 just for grins. I hate to say it, but I like the vintage 3 filter. It looks good on this. Let's compare the two original. I don't know. Anyway, that's enough of that. It's a great shot, but it's a tough shot. So if I did it again, I would expose for the waves a little more and let the highlights blow out more. Let's move on to the next one here. This one I started to work on because I was trying to figure out what to do with this. This, if you look at the EXIF data, right? F22 for 91 seconds. So this is a 1.5 minute long exposure. but also they were using a 9 to 18 millimeter lens at 17 millimeters. So given that information, there's two things I would do, because this is a great shot. I mean, there's you have like this weird sky bleeding across the top, but there's two things I would do differently. Is I would probably move over to the right a little bit so that the skies are not going diagonal against the tree, but coming straight at you, right? Uh, I think that would make it a little more dramatic. And then I would get closer to the tree and use a wider angle, like open the lens all the way up to 9 millimeter, get closer to the tree, and then you capture the whole tree and you capture more of the sky. Um, and then if you have one, if you could get like a a variable ND filter, 5 stops, you could make this like a 5 or 10 minute exposure, and that'll really bleed those clouds right into the scene. So stand over to the right, get closer, use a wider angle, and a longer exposure if you can get an ND filter. If you don't have an ND filter, then a minute and a half would still work. But an ND filter, if you can get it 3 or 4 minutes of clouds moving, I think that would work really well with this scene. But the scene as it is, the picture as it's taken is I think I did a little bit of it looks like maybe used a red filter because the sky is really black here. Unless there was some, no, I think all you did, maybe you used a red filter too. But I love the work on the tones and everything. Just I just feel like if you're gonna work with the sky like that, you need to make it come out towards you. Um, yeah, nothing to do on this other than nothing to do that I can see. I like it the way it is, really. I mean, there's good detail everywhere in the trees. I mean, it's stopped down to f22, so there's a tiny bit of softness here. So if you got an ND filter, you could stop the lens down to like f8 or something a little bit more manageable, and then do a 3 or 4 minute exposure. That's all. I mean, it's nice the way it is. I think it's a good shot. That if you can go back again, I would maybe try those tips. Okay, almost done here. Good. Um, let's see. Now this shot really, this little bird that flew across, that was lucky, right? But I have to cut it out because it's blurry. Um, if it was sharp, I would have kept it in there and used it somehow, made it work in the scene. But the way it is now, I have to get rid of it. And then I just love the dog here, the separation between sort of this very orange coat and this blue-green background, right? It's almost like a dark blue-green color. I think these two colors here really work well together. Um, that might be too much. I would do just a little bit off the right because I want the dog to be a bigger part of the frame. Oh, yeah, I like this better with the dog. I mean, you could argue you want more on the left, or I'm sorry, on the right, because you want to see everything in the frame to the right. But see this little part right here? This bothers me. This part right here. That's why I'm cropping it out. something like that. And that's where I would go with that. We can compare. But I think processing wise, I wouldn't do anything to this. It's perfectly fine. I love the colors and the exposure is perfect. You know, the snow is nice and white and bright. Everything is good about this shot. Just too bad this bird was not in focus. um, Man, it must be raining because look at all the drops on the ground here. Poor dog, standing out in the rain. Hmm. All right. Let's see. This one here. Wow. This is the kind of shot that you would put like in a brochure, right? For whatever park this is, and you want to advertise, you know, how beautiful the park is because it's a beautiful scene. You can see all this green in here. It's being reflected off from the trees. My challenge here, and I like this wide shot. It's a nice wide shot. So everything is really good. I feel like this area here is just a little bit too bright relative to the rest of the scene. And not that I need to balance everything, you know, I like contrast in lighting, but this is a little bit too dark relative to this. Gosh, I like these little speculars here on the rocks too, but let me see. So what I would do, I would have to use this wheel here. Let's bring some of the greens off, off a little bit. Make the greens a little bit darker. Yellows. Yeah, that's a little better. I can just brighten the image up again. And this area here needs to be a little bit more blue. What I'll do is just kind of a greenish, try this wheel. Do it. This one. Okay. um, I just want to make this a little bit more blue. Then I could also do it via white balance. Because this is so yellow, even if I tweak this a little bit more blue, it may not be too obvious. And this is all in the shade anyway, so it's okay if it's a little bit blue. I mean, it's kind of natural, right? That shade is a little bit cooler color. Maybe too much. Right about there. But yeah, composition and everything else, I wouldn't change a thing. Let's compare. See the before and after. Not much change, right? God, I can't even tell the difference. But basically, how come that doesn't look any different? Did a lot of work on that and you can't see anything. My luminance. Too much. But yeah, that's all I would do to it. I mean, I'm not sure what processing you did beforehand or if it's just cropped in a lot. Because it looks like you might have moved the clarity slider in because over here is a little bit muddy. Um, but yeah, okay. Oh, is this yours, Ralph? Yeah, but it's a great shot, Ralph. I just feel like we just have to bring the brightness down over here a little bit, then and then increase the brightness overall, maybe a little more. Wonder if a slight dehaze, but that might take a little bit away. Yeah, that's all right. I messed that up. I should have left it the way it was before. But I think that works. Just like that. Just very small changes, nothing major. All right. That's all I got. I think somebody sent a couple more and I'll come back to those. But anyway, that's those are my thoughts on those images, but they were all great images. Honestly, I didn't have to do much other than crop them a little bit differently. And I'm just trying to think. None of the exposures. I mean, everyone got the exposures really close. I mean, they nailed it really. On all the images, the exposures were good. It's just a matter of timing and position, right? The one image, like I said, if you get a chance to go back to the same area and do it again, try getting a picture like those cityscapes. Blue hour is really the best time to do cityscapes when there's a lot of water, so that you can capture the sky and the water and everything. Um, and then yeah, for that seascape scene, really you have to pick your battles, either the highlights or the shadows. In this case, you kept the highlights pretty well, but then all the shadows got crushed. And I would have went the other direction. I would have exposed for the shadows more, so you could see the waves a little better. But everything else was great. I love the shot from Cuba, and man, that one, man, they were terrific pictures. I appreciate you guys sending those in. They were great. Ah, yeah, really, Bob, right? Lovely photos. Maybe mirror it horizontally so the road comes in from the left. Maybe. I don't think it makes a difference. The road is not framing. I think you're talking about the this one here, right? Um the road basically we're trying to frame the tree with the road, but the road comes in a little bit too close on this end. But yeah, this is a great photo too, but this is another one where I would have composed it a little bit differently so the sky comes at me instead of going across. 'Cause I think if you were standing over to the right, that by itself would, without really changing the composition, just moving over to the right would have made this a lot better. Um, Plato likes the blurry bird. Really? It, no. I guess that could work too. I just wish it was sharper. So, yeah, I that that's the only thing. Okay, so, what did you guys think? I think everyone agrees they were really a good batch of photos this week. Let me see what's come in. Wow, four more pictures. me download them. Okay, Dave. I can extract all these. Same folder. Okay, good. And oh my God. My editing skills are that bad, really, Rick? Sorry, I'm just looking at the email he sent me. Just make sure nothing weird is showing. This is this is an email from Rick or Magrat. Thanks, Rick. I thought I didn't have to do much today, but anyhow. Speaking of photos, let me show, I was Rick posted a challenge in my forum to do some sort of junk food or food photography. So let me show you what I did this morning. This is what I eat every morning: 2 eggs with toast every morning for breakfast. And so I've been trying. So let me show you guys what I did today. I'll post these up in my forum later. But this was an older one. This is one I did. Well, older. I mean, I took this one yesterday. And then this is one I did today. What do you think, Rick? I didn't burn the eggs this time. Rick is always complaining. He saw this picture and he was complaining that I burned the eggs and the toast and everything. He told me to go to cooking school. But this is the one I took today. I didn't burn the eggs or the toast. The toast a little bit burnt, but and I try to use better lighting. So because before everything was just natural light. Like this shot here, this is just natural light from the fluorescent thing in my kitchen. So for this shot, I actually got my umbrella that I'm using now, and shined it directly on there to get better light. So I think that helped a little, but then I forgot to put the spices on it. And then this was another recommendation he made, was to try to show like I'm making an offer or about to eat whatever it is I just cooked. This didn't work out too well because what's on the end of the fork is kind of not very appetizing. I didn't catch a good angle of that, but I was hand holding the camera in one hand and holding a fork in the other. So I think what I'll do next time is I'll get the tripod out so I can actually, maneuver things better. Because the way it was really awkward trying to hold the fork and hold the camera and frame everything by hand, freehand. But it's getting there. What do you guys think of those? Colors are a bit over the top, huh? I'm a good egg, thanks. Oh, but yeah, I need to work on it a little bit. Anyway, let's see. Let me see what's come in now. I got these loaded into the computer. Might have to close workspace and reopen it. Let me try that. You need a frame to hold the fork. You like yesterday's shots better. Okay. Interesting. Maybe because of the spices on the eggs or the way I split the yolk. I don't know. I'll have to give some thought. How come Workspace is not opening up? There's some update. I opened it up today and they said there was an update. So I'm up to 1.31 now. All right, let's go here. Where are they? That's weird. They're not showing up in the folder here. Sorry, let me look at it again. Downloads. Go in folder. And extract all JPEGs. Folder, extract files. If I look in here, oh, here it is. Sorry, here we go. Wow, okay. Nice, I wouldn't do anything different here. I just warm it up a little bit. It's a little bit cool. Something like that. A little bit warmer. A little bit more shadow. And yeah, that's all I would do. That's a perfect shot though. Right? Am I missing anything? I don't have to crop or anything. It's perfect the way it is. It's just very subtle changes. I just brought the shadows down a tiny bit just to make these clouds and then this front area a little bit darker. I think that frames what's in the middle a little better. Maybe a little bit of dehaze. Yeah. A tad warmer maybe. Yeah, that's all I would do. Just make it a little warmer and a little bit more, bring the shadows down a little bit. So like I said, these clouds are darker. Because anytime you warm an image up a little bit, it gets brighter. Either perceptually or actually does brighten the image sometimes. So, but I like the warmth here on the waves when I warmed it up a little bit. Because over here, this is all looks very cold. I would warm it up. That's it. Let's see. Where's the other one? Is it this one? There were 4 new images. I don't know why they're not showing. Oh, here's the other one. Oh, okay. This one is better. Kind of the same idea. You're using the clouds to kind of, make the tree, right? I just wish, I think this shot here would be better if you move the tree off center. Um, and I would walk over a little bit to the right. So this is what I would do. On this scene, I would walk a little bit over to the right so that the tree is a little bit more to the left. And then I would use the branches the way they're hanging over here to frame this part right here. If you walk further right, you might be able to get it to frame this structure over here, this fort, whatever this is. This is an old fort. So I would walk left and right to see which way I can get the tree to frame whatever's in the background. Um, I mean, just to give you some idea, I'm thinking along the lines of this, the way this frames. But you have to move a little bit more over to the right, or this side, right? Something like this. Move over and away, and use a longer lens. What are you using here? 18 millimeters. So stand further back, use a longer lens to compress the scene a little bit, and then try to get away for the branches to frame the background, either this fort or the or this whatever this is, this island. Because this by itself, it's a nice picture, and I think the black and white editing you did on this is perfect. I mean, the tones and everything are excellent. It's just the framing, the position that you're in, because right now all this tree is doing is cutting this scene in the background in half. And that's the problem I'm having with it. It's just because this scene back here is also really actually really nice when you punch in, you know. I mean, look at this old fort. It's really cool. And then this little island back here with some houses on it. So yeah, and then look at the clouds over this fort. I mean, you did a really good job with the tones on this image. That's the only thing I would change. So give that some thought about next time you're in a scene like this. Try to frame it so that you use the tree to frame the image itself. That's what I'm thinking. Lower right angle on the fork. Yeah. Um, you guys like the bird in the shot, but it was too blurry for me. I mean, if it was just a little bit sharper, or if the dog was looking at the bird, I don't know. I mean, it wasn't bad with the bird in. It was kind of interesting. Good timing, or good luck, I should say. But when it's blurry, I just would rather cut it out than leave it in there, because then a blurry bird would be distracting. It all depends. Everybody looks at things differently. That's just how I saw it. That's what I would do here. Okay, let's see. There's another one here I see. Wow. What is this? The Blue Angels? Yeah. Man, this must be somebody local, because the Blue Angels fly over my house I don't know about this spring, but every spring they practice for a couple of weeks before they actually do their air show, because I live right near the Air Force Base. And if I'm lucky, I can get out there and get a couple shots of them. I posted one on my Instagram last year. I'd shoot the bird and mount it on a stick. I'm not that cruel. Ellie would definitely catch it though, man. If a bird's flying that low in my backyard, that bird's got no chance, let me tell you. Um, yeah, I like this. It's just a little bit dark. I would just brighten it up and cool and warm it up a little bit. It's a little bit too cool. I would warm it up like so, and try and bring some of the dang it. Can't do it in workspace. So this is definitely one for Lightroom. Something like that. Let me look at the, yeah, that's a little better to me. Just bring the shadows up a little bit and warm the image up. And now we got nice separation of these clouds, or what do you call these? Trails of some kind, right? That's all I would do here, though. It's an awesome shot, though. And these Blue Angels, man, they they are something else. I don't think the bird made the shot because the eyes go to the. I'm gonna come back to that picture. Maybe you guys didn't look at it right. I'm kidding, but yeah, I think all you need to do is warm it up and bring the shadows up a little bit on the Blue Angels here. But other than that, it's a perfect shot. I mean, just perfect. Just a little dark. But that was it. A little dark and a little cool. All right, there was one more image in that batch. Where is it? Oh, here it is. I think. No, no. I'm not seeing it. This one? Hey, try and find it. Definitely one more. Ding. Oh, oh, it's a TIFF. All right. Well, pull it up this. Um, this image here. Wow. What is this? These are bands? Boomtown. Amy Whitehouse. What is this place? I mean, it's just a little bit crooked. I would straighten it out a little bit. Because this corner down here on the right is lower than this corner. So straighten it, and then if you can, move back just a little bit more because I don't like the way this top is cut off. So it just needs a little more symmetry in the shot, but it's an interesting picture. All this stuff going on. I like everything except it's just a little bit just needs a little more correction, right? Symmetry. You know, as an architectural guy, I kind of, I just noticed these things right away. This is cut off. These are kind of, there's more space on the right side than the left side, and then it's uneven, right? So if you correct all of those things, I think this picture would be fine. I just don't know why. I don't. I don't know why it's not coming up in Workspace because normally I can see a TIFF file. There must be some Yeah, I can't get it to pull up in workspace, but that's all I would do with that one. All right, let's see where we're at. Okay. 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 Why?
Okay.
Why am I getting an echo?
Okay.
Why am I getting an
Why?
echo? There. Hopefully that got rid of it. No, still have an echo. All right. Uh, yeah, the echo, right? All right, guys. Well, that's pretty much on the for the edits today. Um, nobody has any other questions about the edits or about the cameras or anything. Um, post them now because I'm gonna call it. But definitely, those two things, right? Is one is this submit all your people pictures, right? Because then Robin, not sorry, Jimmy Chang from Red 35 Photography and Joe Ellis, uh, on his channel. They're both wedding photographers, people photographers. So submit your people photos, and they'll critique them. And I'm gonna give them 4 or 5 each, so it's not like just all about critiquing photos because I want to talk to them about you know their professional work and things like that, right? So we'll get into that. And if you can, go to my forum and post some pictures for the photo challenge, right? The food challenge, or suggest another one. I'm willing to try anything, especially now. I need some more ideas to photograph things around my house because I've kind of done it all. I feel like I just don't have the imagination sometimes. But hey, Arthur, how are you? I'm about to wrap up here, buddy. I sorry I missed you. Um, but okay, everyone. Thanks for coming in today, and we'll see you guys back on Sunday morning.